Guys, it's going down this weekend at UFC 293 with Adesanya stepping up to defend his title against Sean Strickland, and my partners at DraftKings are offering an incredible deal for all new customers who sign up using the promo code Sonnen. New customers, you can bet $5 on any of this weekend's fights, and you're going to receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. You can even use your bonus bets on DraftKings same fight parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight, including number of rounds and method of victory. Remember, DraftKings is the only place where you can bet same fight parlays. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. So click on the link below. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code Sonnen and get in on all the fun. Dillon Danis got served legal paperwork from Miss Nina, and she is the girlfriend and I believe the fiance of Logan Paul. Now, I might be telling you old stuff that you know, but let's get into what this looks like, allegedly, because you got to understand, this is from Dillon's Twitter. So Twitter obstructs you. It used to be 140 characters. I think that has grown, but you get my point that your information is very limited. So Dillon gets right to the point. He says, look, I'm being sued. It is a massive lawsuit. He even said that it was a federal lawsuit, and it also encompassed a restraining order. Dillon then did make the comment that we're all wondering, does that mean the fight is in jeopardy? So restraining orders are an interesting thing that I must tell you I'm not an expert in. I've heard this term a whole bunch of times, but I don't know anybody that's had one. Like if any of my buddies got a restraining order against them, they didn't tell me. So I don't have really great insight, but I do know roughly. I'll get you partway there. There's X amount of feet that you cannot be within the person who filed the restraining order if the restraining order is granted. And I believe that is 500 feet. Now, I bring that to you because even if it's a different amount of feet, you can see where the importance of that would come. But if you were to have a restraining order as it pertains to the fight, I don't believe that would carry to a different country. Even if it was two Americans that did this in an American court certified, I don't know that would have anything to do with a fight that's going on in England. And I'm bringing that to you just because I don't quite know what the tie-in is. But I would understand from Dillon's perspective if he wasn't to say, knock it off, or I'm not coming over there to fight. And you do have to understand that Dillon has massive hand in this. Like, you can feign anger with Dillon to the highest level. You can show bravado. You could do all the things that as a man, you believe that you're supposed to do. You can. But you also got to understand it's a different bucket, right? I mean, this goes into a different bucket of fight promotion. Jake Paul came out over the weekend and let the world know that Dillon, as far as compensation, has agreed to a set fee. He is not in on the business, meaning he's not getting back into money. Now, in all fairness, Dillon, at the time that they signed the fight, who really wanted to go and do the fight, wasn't in a position to do that. It was a co-main event. Is it even going to happen? We're going to do you a solid, but we are going to bring in Mike Perry just in case. I mean, I'm taking you back to let you know that when this negotiation was done, this fight, the magnitude of it, the fact that it has greatly overshadowed the entire card, including the main event, none of those things were true at the time that the deal was signed. This was Dillon saying, hey, I want to get busy. I want to get back out there. Got an opponent for me. So you can see where Dillon would agree to something like this. But it's very important that you do understand that detail that Jake offered to us, that Dillon isn't getting back in money, because if Dillon wanted to go sit on his hands right now, he could. Had he sat on his hands right now, his job is going to be the same. He's got a flight, he's got a weight to make, he's got some gloves to put on, he's got a boxing match to do, he's got a check to collect, put everything in reverse, come back home. So when you have somebody like Dillon who isn't going to be compensated but took promotion into his own hands, he's done $10 million or more worth of promotion for you. There is an appreciation to that. Or at least it would appear to me that there should be. Are you guys following? Are you guys following it and understand what I'm talking about? Because if Dillon was to now come in and go, hey, because things are different now, right? He had to negotiate. He had to sign to a flat fee with no backing points. He has now built something that is colossally huge. If Dillon doesn't participate in that event looks very different. I think they have something there, by the way. I think the KSI and this Fury kid, and I think that they have something there. I'm not talking about they go and ruin the entire event. I think Mike Perry versus Logan, I think there's something there. But I think that if you look at it, you understand that you do get back-end money, and therefore, every single thing that Dillon does that helps to add to the fight that doesn't help him, but it does help you, I think that you would be able to look at that a little bit objectively and say, and now I'm trying to hurt him? Now I'm trying to get him knee-deep in a lawsuit? I'm trying to get a restraining order put against him? It just seems to me like a little bit of a tough thing. And if Dillon wanted to say, here's how we're going to resolve this, you're going to knock that off. I'm not going to stop anything. But the size of your ring and the crowd at that wedding and what the honeymoon looks like is going to be a lot different because of my actions. I mean, not for nothing. It is important to understand it from that perspective. I'm friends with Dillon. I'll disclose that to you. I see what Dillon puts out there. My wife follows it and reads it to me. I speak to Dillon on a fairly regular basis. I don't know Miss Nina's last name. And I'm not trying to be a condescending prick at all. I don't know what her last name is. I found out today that her name was Nina. I share that with you because whatever she is feeling in her own bubble, it's just that. It's not like a round. It's not one of those things. It's making the fight between her famous fiance and Dillon that much more interesting. But the damage actually being done to her, I will share for you, at least from my perspective, and feel free to disagree. Maybe I don't have my thumb on this thing. I didn't know what her name was until this morning, and I had to double check. I've never seen that name before, of Nina. I still don't know the last name, and I read it. And I'm only sharing for you that that bucket is set to serve a purpose, and that purpose doesn't help Dillon. That purpose helps her fiance. Now, you do what you want with that. Let's take a look from a little bit of a different perspective, because whether the lawsuit has merit or not, whether it could carry on or not, it's annoying, right? It's going to be a nuisance that Dillon would rather not deal with. Oh, and by the way, what does it mean? What does it mean? If I'm going to fight this restraining order, where do I fight it? Can I fight it in my courts? Do I got to go to your courts? Where'd you file this thing? It's extremely relevant that you would know that. Dillon would have to go and fight it. But if Dillon has, to my understanding of restraining order, if Dillon has never invaded her space in the first place, you're not going to get a reasonable court to put a 500-foot barrier on it. He's never broken that barrier to start with, right? You would have to break the barrier. You would have to be in somebody's face. You would have to be, which is why, oh, you got to stay back. So even if it doesn't have merit, I'm just sharing with you, you're still dealing with the hassle. I was in Canada fighting for Bodog. Matt Linlin, who's not only my roommate, he's my cornerman, but we stayed in the same room, gets invited out. He's going to go out on the town with Phil Baroni. And Linlin and Phil Baroni were like oil and water, particularly at that time. But they were both out there. They were looking for something to do. It was Phil's idea. I think that Matt saw it more as like an opportunity to mend a fence with his great enemy more than it was to get out of the hotel because I'm bored. Either way, something ends up happening. And it happens with a waitress and Matt, and the police are called. And it was something silly, by the way. She was like cleaning a table. And she was like, she had a spray thing, and she sprayed it on the table, and it like gets on Matt. Matt like grabs it and sprays it back in her direction. Like, hey, what are you doing? She calls the police, and then it wasn't just an assault. It was like chemical, this, like it got really weird and really embellished. It turned out that she was the girlfriend of a gangster from town. So, but these gangsters had a fight club, and they traveled with Bodog. There was like 4 or 5 of them that were MMA fighters. And then they're all cornered by fellow members. So we end up over in Russia months later. Matt's got this lawsuit in Canada. He lives in America. How am I going to deal with it? I either lose the lawsuit by default, but I just simply don't return to Canada. which is a problem when he signed with Bodog, who's out of Canada, or I got to get lawyers. I got to fly over there. I got to do this whole thing repeatedly, make this go away. We're in Russia. And one of the gang members is out of tobacco. And what he didn't know when he got on the plane and flew to Russia is that they don't sell tobacco in Russia, at least not the loose kind of chew tobacco that he was looking for. But Matt Lindland had a can at Copenhagen. Well, Matt Lindland also wasn't aware that they don't sell it. He's running a little bit low himself. So he takes and he puts a chew in it. And the guy says, hey, let me get that can. Matt's like, nah, can't help you. The guy's like, I'll give you $100 for that can of chew. Matt's like, not enough. Guy's like, I'll give you $500 for that chew. And Matt says, here's the deal. I will give you this partially used can of chew. You're going to make that lawsuit I got in Canada go away. The guy pauses and thinks about it, accepts the deal. Matt slides him the can. The dude makes a call and that lawsuit was gone. I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like, there's ways to, right? There's some things that people want. And I do think that this is being mislooked at. I don't know enough about it, in all fairness. Like, I know that Dillon is posting photos. My understanding of that is not that those are photoshopped or that Dillon has purchased secret photos from somebody, right? Something risque that you might hear about. My understanding of that is that he got them from her. That she posted them on her social media and Dillon copy and pasted them and posted them on his. That's my understanding. If I have that part wrong, please correct me, but that's what I think is happening. And the truth being an absolute defense would just make this whole thing very silly. But if you have somebody and they got some money and they got some time on their hands, and not to mention they really like attention, right? I'm going to go get attention by pretending that I don't like this attention. Like, the whole thing gets very weird. But when you have influencers, I mean, believe me, that camera is a drug. And they need that attention. They need a certain kind of attention. So if I put the picture and I put them over here, I got a certain reaction. But if you took the same photo and you put it over here, I got a different reaction. And now I'm not happy. The whole thing gets a little bit weird. And to have a lack of appreciation for what Dillon is doing, to Jake's point, he's not getting back in. So why is he building it? The whole reason you give a guy points, by the way, it is the most generous thing that I have personally seen in business. And you could bring any business that you want in. When you give somebody back in points, you're going to take all the risk. If it works to a certain extent, you're then going to give them money, right? They just became your partner. You can't get a partnership without writing a check. You have to buy in. They're going to give it to somebody. Now, just so you understand, that is with the hope that this 1099 employee, 1099 independent contractor, rather, will show up to the media dates that you set up. You can't enforce that. You have no ability to enforce it. And without those media dates, you have no promotion. So it's a conversation that you never even have. You never even need to explain to the person why I'm giving you these points. They know. Everybody knows. There's going to be things that are expected of me aside from the fight. The other guys on the card only have to show up and fight. I have to do other things. Dillon was not incentivized with those other things, but he took it on like a partner and did them anyway. Now, you can either appreciate that or you can be a dick.